This is the Emergency Communications Training Net. My name is Jerry, and my call sign is WB4EMC. I'm located in Waxhaw, North Carolina, and I'll be the net control operator for this net. The purpose of this net is to train on emergency communications procedures, communications equipment, communication modes, and the National Incident Management System. Okay, before we get started, is there any emergency communications, traffic, or announcements? If so, call WB4EMC or Net Control. Okay, not hearing any announcements or emergency traffic, I want to welcome all of those who joined us this evening on EchoLink. And before we get started and recognizing the stations, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and please be safe. We want to have you on the next net. So let's go ahead and recognize the stations that are logged into the EchoLink this evening. Of course, my station is WB4EMC. And we also like to recognize AJ6AP Jameson and also KB4NET Bill. We also like to recognize KK4SRO Sierra Romeo Oscar. And also we like to recognize KD8 Mike India Bravo, Eddie up there in West Virginia. Okay, tonight I'm not going to have a long lesson this evening. I know this is pre-Christmas Eve net here. So what we're going to be discussing is I'm going to wrap up the training in the ICS 300. There was a lot more involved in the ICS 300 than what we actually went over. But I didn't want to get too much in detail. I just wanted to give y'all just a little bit of the taste of what ICS 300 is all about. Tonight, we're going to be briefly touching on demobilization. That is the last phase on an incident. And demobilization is the release and return of resources that are no longer required in an incident or an actual event. And the demobilization process can occur at any time during or after an incident or an event. Incident or event could still be going on or occurring, but they may see that our services are no longer needed. So they can demobilize us at any time. And when I say us, I'm meaning us as emergency communicators using amateur radio equipment. They can have us to stand down and keep us on incident, or they can say, well, thank you very much for your time, and you'll be totally demobilized. Usually they want to use the amateur radio group as a backup emergency communications. Let's say, for instance, if an incident occurred and we're the first ones on site, but their regular their regular radio communication equipment is not there yet. That's where we fill in. And then, let's say, for instance, once they get their regular communications set up, then our services may not be needed at that point in time. They can have the option of totally demobilizing us or having us stand by. This is WB4 EMC. Okay, the process of demobilization. Basically, when the incident commander or the COMEL officer that is in charge tell us that we are being demobilized, they usually will then want us to submit our 214s and any 213 forms that has been accumulated. All that will be turned back into the incident commander or the COMEL officer. So, and also they may, depending on where you're at, they may give you a demobilization form to fill out. Now, when we are demobilized, let's say, I'm using this as an example. Back in 2012, I was deployed at the DMC, the Democratic National Convention in Charlotte, at the EOC. And when we went into demobilization, after we turned in all the paperwork and filled out the form, then when I left to go back home, and at the time I was living in Waxhaw at the time. So when I got to my house, I was supposed to call in to the COMEL officer there at the EOC to let her know that I have arrived home safely. So the incident commander or the COMEL officer is responsible while you are coming to or going back to your location. So once you're arrived at your location, then you're totally demobilized. This is WB4 EMC. There's a lot more technical information that goes along in demobilization. A lot more, and I don't want to bore anybody half to death here. So I know there might be some listening and some on the net that actually have been deployed and know exactly what the demobilization process is. And the demobilization is basically part of planning. They plan for demobilizing at the very beginning of the incident or the actual event. So, again, that's going back to, like we discussed last week, the planning P, the planning cycle. When an incident comes up, the first thing everybody thinks about is my replacement or the demobilization process. So they plan all of that. In other words, all the resources that comes in, the communications team is considered as a resource. So how and when do we need to demobilize them? Do we need to keep them through the whole event, or should once the communications system is stable, do we need just to let them go? Sometimes, in most cases, they will keep the amateur radio operators on hand just in case if something did go down, you know, unexpected, like a power failure or equipment on their end. At least they have us available in case the unexpected did happen. This is WB4 EMC. Okay, that's the little bit of training I had this evening. And next week, I'm going to briefly touch on the ICS 400. That's getting into the bigger incidents and events. So let's go ahead now and go down the list for general comments. Okay, let's see. Up on the list here, we have AJ6, Alpha Papa, Jameson. Good evening. Your comments for the net. Over.
Good evening, Net Control and all that's on.
KK4 SRO, this is WB4 EMC. I don't know what was going on with the repeater. For all of a sudden, it dropped out on me too. It happened the other week, and I have to log back out of Echolink and come back in, and I don't know what was going on with that. But anyway, sorry about that. That's the beauty of the Echolink and ham radio, I suppose. But yeah, join us again next Saturday night. We'll be looking forward to having you. Merry Christmas, Randy. This is WB4 EMC clear.
WB4 EMC's KD8 MIB, over.
Is this KK4 SRO, Randy?
No, this is KD8 MIB, over.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay. KD8 IMB. This is WB4 EMC. How you doing, Eddie?
Doing pretty good this evening. Whenever you call for me to make my comment, and also the same thing happened to Randy, the repeater didn't drop out, so we couldn't really come through. But I just wanted to say thanks for your training this evening, and I was glad I made it. I just about missed it. I was out on a rescue squad call, and we just got done, and I got back into cell phone service and was able to get on the Echolink, and then I came down into the building where I could get in on some Wi-Fi, so have a little better connection. But I just want to say thanks for what you do, and have a Merry Christmas. KD8 MIB clear.
Okay, KD8 MIB. This is WB4 EMC. Where Eddie, that might be some of the problems of dropping out and what have you. Sometimes it depends on the stations out there, their location, their Wi-Fi connection, and where they're located. So that can be a little bit of a problem. But we have last week had a little bit of a problem here where we're running the net, and all of a sudden the whole Echolink system just goes down. I don't know why, but it happened. So I'm still trying to double check things, make sure everything is okay on my end. But saying that, Eddie, let me let you go. Glad to have you here this evening on the net, and we'll say 73s to you, and have a Merry Christmas, and looking forward to having you next Saturday night. This is WB4 EMC, clear after your final.